Good afternoon and welcome to today's Spotlight session, Simplifying Shift Types. My name is Essie. I am one of the customer support advisors here at RoadReady, and I work closely with the rest of the customer-facing team. These Spotlight sessions are held monthly, and each session will focus on a specific area of RoadReady. Sometimes we'll be covering some easy-to-use but lesser-known features, and sometimes we dive into technicalities. Also, all of these sessions will be stored in our knowledge base, so make sure to check them all out. Today's Spotlight session won't take longer than 10 to 15 minutes, and therefore we won't be taking any live Q&As. But if you do have any questions, feel free to drop us a note and we'll get back to you right after. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at shift types from a few different points of view. We'll be exploring the setup, how they link with our other features, and the effects the hierarchy has on them. Everything you'll see today will be modeled by a restaurant, but if your business is different, there's nothing to worry about. All terms are customized. Cool. So the best place to start is the very basics. So what exactly are RoadReady shift types? Well, shift types simply define work to be done. Whenever you create a shift on the rota, you must associate it with a shift type. Each type represents different duties undertaken by your organization. If you look at the rota on this page, you can see quite a few shifts scheduled, things such as manager, supervisor, and waiter. Well, these titles here are shift types. Each of these titles are fully customizable, meaning you can have as many as you want and you can name them to reflect your organization's needs. Cool. Next, I just want to walk you through what are stream mappings and how they link with shift types. So once again, if we just start off with the very basics, shift types work together with cost control, and each shift type must be mapped with a stream. In more detail, these streams are buckets for sales, wage costs, and hours used in cost control and reporting. They allow you to directly compare revenue with the labor that it costs you to service that revenue. These here are fully customizable, so you can name your streams by what matters most to your organization. If we look at the example here, which we're once again basing off a restaurant, you can see on the right-hand side a couple very common streams called dry and wet. For clarification, these could also be called something like food and beverage, or as mentioned before, they can be named whatever you like. On the left-hand side, you can see a list of shift types and how they are mapped to these streams. So you can use whether a shift type should flow directly into a single stream or perhaps split across multiple. So if we look at the back of house here at the top, you can see that it's mapped 100% into the dry stream. But if we look at management, which is here in the middle, you can see that it's actually split 50-50 between the dry and wet. Do bear in mind that if you do not map your shift types with a stream, you will end up with unallocated figures on your cost control, which can disturb your weekly forecasting, budgeting, and reporting by department. Cool. Now that we've covered the very, very basics, I'll quickly jump into a training environment to show you how these actually look live. Once again, as a reminder, the example will be based off a restaurant. So if your setup looks slightly different, that is completely fine. So here we are in the live environment, which I'm sure all of you find very familiar. So to find shift types, you have to hover on top of settings here at the top blue banner and select shift types. Cool. So on this page here, you will find all of your shift types and you can create more of them. For your information, you can actually have as many shift types as you like. You can easily have 10s of them, or you can have as little as we have here on this example. This is fully down to your business and your needs. Cool. So if we look at these existing shift types here, we can actually see that they are organized by what we call hierarchies, such as this. So for example, this one here, manager, is a master shift type, which we have broken down into two sub-shift types called duty manager and supervisor. You can actually also see that we've added a number 1 in front of that name. This is just to bring this group here to the front of the page and front of that whole setup. You can, of course, simply just use master shift types if you do not want to create these sub shift types. What we do recommend is that you always keep these titles very clear and the tasks clearly defined. Cool. So next up, I just want to show you how you would actually add in a new shift type. So to do that, you would go here to the top right corner and click this blue button saying add shift type. First thing you would select is whether you want to create a master shift type or a sub shift type. So in this example, I'm just going to go ahead and click sub shift type. Next thing you want to do is select the parent shift type. In this case, I'm just going to go with the front of house, and I'm going to create a shift type called runner. So once you fill that name, you just need to scroll all the way down to the stream mapping section here. As I am creating a front of house shift type, I'm going to map this to the wet cost stream, and I'm going to assign it 100% to that one. As I mentioned before, you can indeed give your shift types multiple streams. In that case, you would simply just have to amend this percentage here. It can be something like 50-50, it can be 25 to 75, pretty much whatever works for you. Very important thing to remember here is to click this add new button. If you do not click this one here, the cost stream will not save like this. But once you're done with that, simply hit save. And as you can see here, it's now appeared here, hierarchy. Cool. Another thing though, if you do want to just make sure that that sub shift type will go automatically to the correct hierarchy, you can just click this plus from here. Cool. I'm just going to quickly show us something from the rota. So when we go rotas, rota editor like this, you'll see a very familiar view. Here you can already see some of these shifts with those very familiar titles that you just saw on the previous page. But if we click on an empty cell to add in a shift, this is where you'll select a shift type. So you can actually use this box here as a search box, so you can just type it in, or you can just open it up like this. So here you can actually see the benefits of the hierarchies that you just saw. So here we have number one, manager. Under that, you can see the sub shift types that were created, following by the rest. Cool. Other thing I do want to show you is if we go here to the top left corner, you can actually select a shift type view. So this allows you to view your rota based on those shift types like this. Do bear in mind that this view here is uneditable. So if you do need to make any changes, you have to jump back into that group view from here. Last thing I do want to show you is the hours and wages. So if we open this up, we get this little snapshot of our cost control. So if we just expand that, you can see all of those metrics broken down into these streams. So here you can see the wet and the dry stream, and you can see all costs allocated to them. So these are based on the mappings that we just had a closer look at with the shift types. One thing I do want to point out, if you ever see this row called unassigned or unallocated, this would mean that you have a shift type or a salaried staff member without a stream mapping. So if you ever do see this, first thing you want to do is go back to your settings, shift types page, simply go through all of your existing shift types and double check those mappings. Cool. So I'm just going to jump us right back into the presentation and go through a couple examples of these shift type setups. So as I shortly mentioned earlier, keeping your shift types clearly defined, mapped, and well organized is super important, as it will help you analyze your data more easily in reports. For example, we have a shift breakdown report, which will be directly affected by the shift type setup. This report will allow you to see your wage costs based on each shift type. Also, having a clearly organized shift types and hierarchy will help those people building rotas to efficiently distribute the work, as you just saw on the rotas. So here I've attached a couple examples for you. So if you look at the top picture, you will see a snapshot of a disorganized shift type setup. You can see here that there are multiple master shift types with similar titles, such as bar with a capital letter, bar with a lowercase b. You can see bartender, bar night. This type of setup can actually make it really hard to understand which type should be used and when, and it can even make your reporting quite messy. This then takes us to the second example. In this example, the shift types are organized clearly using the master and sub shift types. So you can see here we have the manager, front of house, back of house, and all of them have been broken down by specific duties. The benefits of this, once again, is your reports will be clearer and rota building will be easier, as I showed you on the live environment. Cool. That is pretty much it for the shift types, but as a little cherry on top, I want to quickly introduce one of our newest features to you. This one is called shift recommendations. So this little feature here might not look like much, but it's actually a very powerful tool. The system will now intelligently calculate and identify the 3 most frequently worked shifts by an employee. So you can see these suggestions when you go to schedule in a shift. You simply need to click at one of these three suggestions here, and the system will automatically take that shift and create it for you. So it's just very easy and time effective feature. Cool. So that's it for today. Hopefully that provided you with a bigger picture of shift types and their setup, and you enjoyed that little introduction to our shift recommendations. At any point, if you do have any questions or perhaps just want to give us some feedback, don't hesitate to get in touch with us through the chat, email, or support phone. We'll be back in 1 month's time with a spotlight session called Making the Most of the Mobile App. This will be an in-depth live tour of the RotaReady mobile app from start to finish. I'm sure most of you have been looking forward to this one, and it will also be a very handy tool that you can share between the rest of your colleagues. This session will take place Wednesday, 29th of September at 11 a.m. So we hope to see you all there. Thank you again for joining, and take care.